Dear colleagues and friends, welcome to the DGA Conference 2021. This year's conference is organized by Area Ruhr. The Alliance for Research on East Asia, Ruhr, is a joint initiative by the Faculty of East Asian Studies of the Ruhr University Bochum and the In-East Institute of East Asian Studies at the University of Duisburg-Essen. We would have loved to welcome you all in Bochum and Duisburg, but well, that does not work this year. Therefore, we will meet in the digital space. No problem. In the last year, we all have become semi-professional in e-conferencing and digital interaction. So we are convinced this format will in no way whatsoever impact the quality of the academic exchange, but rather enable us to engage in some new forms of interaction, expand the reach of our discussions, and help to establish exchanges with colleagues all over the world that otherwise would not have been able to travel to Germany. This year's conference focuses on the topic of transnational Asian studies, multi-level dynamics of identity formation and institution building. When we determined this topic, we saw a need to throw more light on the role of cross-border interaction for the advancement of socio-economic welfare, innovation, and peaceful coexistence in a world becoming increasingly entangled in the dynamics of decoupling. Since then, the topic has gained even more relevance. In the context of the Sino-American struggle for global leadership, the evolution of the global economic governance regime seems to have reached a critical juncture. The risk of a new global division in which nations will have to sort themselves either in the American or the Chinese sphere of value systems, institutional order, technical standards, etc., is still acute, even with a less belligerent Biden administration. In such a constellation, Asia would be torn apart. We learn that the transnational quest for win-win constellations is anything but a norm and needs permanent effort and determination. What are the parameters driving these developments on the national as well as the international level? When do dominant trends succumb to cross and countercurrents? Currents which often evolve endogenously and in parallel to the rise of the dominant trend. In Asia, strong national sentiments, populist movements are on the rise again. Transnational alliances, efforts, and institution building appear to become increasingly difficult. But in late 2020, Asia has once again proven its ability for pragmatic problem solving and capacity to set up transnational structures for shared development and welfare. The creation of a regional comprehensive economic partnership, RCEP, appears as a shining light in an otherwise bleak 2020. But this is only one of the many important developments in Asia. I'm convinced that this conference will shed bright light on the multitude of fascinating developments in Asia and look ahead to 2 exciting days.
I'd like to follow up on what Markus has just said and extend a warm welcome to the participant of this year's DGA conference on behalf of the Alliance for Research on East Asia Ruhr and the Faculty of East Asian Studies of the Ruhr University Bochum. The theme of our conference, Transnational Asian Studies, Multi-Level Dynamics of Identity Formation and Institution Building, is timely, given the current crisis of institutions and identities in East and West. Not only are we facing the greatest global challenge to our political and social systems since World War II, but some people seem to be actively contributing to undermining them at this very moment. This happens, for example, when the management of the COVID-19 pandemic is conceived of as a contest between competing political systems, rather than a task that we must tackle together. Along with the notion of political system competition, false assumptions and prejudices about fundamental differences between cultural identities become entrenched and reinforced. As scholars of Asian studies, we know these prejudices all too well, and we also know that they have been hindering deeper understanding for centuries. So much so that it is sometimes forgotten that even North Korean communists and Republicans in the US continue to share the common bond of humanity. I am thinking here of the words of the eminent Moravian sinologist Gustav Halaun, who left Nazi Germany in 1938 to become chair of Chinese language and history in Cambridge. His colleague and lecturer at the Sinological Department of Göttingen University, the famous Chinese Indologist Ji Xianlin, who studied Sanskrit and Tocharian with Ernst Waldschmidt and Emil Sieg, fortunately passed these words down in his memoirs, 10 Years in Germany. I quote, Halaun explained to us in a very low voice that he had been living in Göttingen for many years, but that he had only two sincere friends here, two Chinese. Tears shone in his eyes. End of quote. We can no longer close our minds to the fact that not only the material conditions of our lives, but also the ways we reflect on them, including our response to crises of institutions and identities, are increasingly shaped by our interaction with Asian cultures. It is in this spirit of mutual understanding and friendship that we will collaborate and conduct research on dynamics of identity formation and institution building to make sure that this conference will be enjoyable and fruitful for every one of you. We look forward to meeting you all in the virtual space soon.